Bax Creek's back, all right!
Hello, everyone. My name is Jordan Tischler, and I will be presenting with my group members. There's the Baxter Creek Watershed Alliance Phase 2 Community Connections Collaborative Project. We are the Baxter Creek Boys, and we will be handling this collaborative project. Just a little bit about the team. I am Jordan Tischler, or the project lead. Chris LeBert is the lead database designer, and Sam Pethick is the lead cartographer. A little bit about the client, and this organization was formed in 2021 and is a federally incorporated nonprofit organization partnered with Esri Canada. This organization protects the Baxter Creek subwatershed and has since recently decided to expand their protection to Cabin Creek and Squirrel Creek subwatersheds. In 2022, the BCWA's Secretary Craig Onafrichuk conducted a project with Fleming College, which is us, and during that was phase 1. We are now phase 2 in 2023, starting on their other deliverables. A little bit on phase 1 and 2. Phase 1 was conducted by Regan McLean and Brianne McAllister, and they just did a little bit of an overview for Baxter Creek Watershed Hub, and they made a story map and map series related to those, as well as gathering data and uploading it to ArcGIS Online and for ease of use. Phase 2, we will be, us, the Baxter Creek Boys, will be covering their watershed amphibian monitoring program, as well as now that they have decided to use Squirrel Creek and Cabin Creek, Equal will be making a story map and story and map series on those creeks as well as expanding Baxter Creek Watershed hub as well. And then we'll just furthering anything that they need additionally. The study area, as mentioned before, is Cabin Creek, Baxter Creek, and Squirrel Creek's subwatersheds. These three creeks cover 5 different municipalities, these including City of Kawartha Lakes, Township of Cabin-Monhagen, Municipality of Clarington, Township of Otonabee South Monhagen, and Municipality of Port Hope. And this is the entire area that we will be covering in our collaborative project. Over to Sam with primary objectives.
All right, so our primary objectives and deliverables have to do primarily with upgrading the functionality and operations of the BCWA to more of a GIS-based system. And so the main deliverable is the digitization of an amphibian monitoring program that they have. And so this is a paper-based survey that is conducted by professionals within the BCWA and an assistant. And so there are 3 different surveys they do based off of observation conditions. And one of the advantages of Survey 1, 2, 3 is that we will be able to take all 3 of these surveys and put them into a single application that's user-friendly and simple to use. And that will allow for the gathering of not just our observations of the amphibians, but also the conditions of the environment when the observations were made, and it will allow for metadata as well. And they also currently use a site-based system for locating where the observations are being made, but Survey 1, 2, 3 will give us the exact location as well as the station. And our next primary deliverable is focused on community outreach. And so the main ideal goal is that we will be able to increase sort of community involvement in the conservation of the Baxter Creek subwatershed. And the main way that we seek to reach the community is with a story map series built around education and the creation of an ArcGIS dashboard to go with the interactive web map that was made in phase 1. And so the main purpose of this is, again, education, but also to be used as a reliable reference for professionals. Another main primary objective we need is to gather ortho images for the use of analysis by the Baxter Creek watershed and host it on a server for them. And luckily, the BCWA being a nonprofit and us being students, we should be able to acquire this for free outside of handling fees. And secondary objectives. These are more wish list items, and so the primary objectives are things that we're definitely going to get done, and secondary ones are ones that we're going to consider time permitting, which we will determine through a Slack analysis. And so the main secondary deliverable is Watershed Watch Community Outreach Web Application, and this is another application that's in the theme of reaching the community. And so the advantage of this is to allow for observations by the general public to be made, which would increase the sort of knowledge we have on the health of the Baxter Creek watershed. And their observations would be vetted by BCWA professionals so that we know that they're quality observations. And ideally, they would be able to be implemented right into our GIS online. So very little maintenance required there. This one, other objective, is to improve the website, which it's already pretty solid. So we didn't really give it a full deliverable status, but it's just sort of a consideration for user-friendly design, because when people go to a website, the first thing they're looking for is to find what they're looking for quickly. And we just want to make sure that this is put into practice. So our next secondary deliverable is LiDAR analysis and a tree canopy model. The idea here is to use LiDAR data to derive DEMs and tree canopy models, which can be interactive layers on the dashboard. And we will also be able to derive hydrology layers from the DEM and apply that to the dashboard as well. And then our third secondary objective and deliverable is the waterfront property and zoning layers. And so the idea is to have interactive layers on the dashboard based around the zoning on the waterfront and also the property information and statistics pertaining to it, which we hope to get from municipal sources. And with that being said, I will hand it off to Chris for methodology.
I'm Chris. I'll be introducing our methodology for the primary deliverables, and we're going to start out with the amphibian monitoring program on Survey 123. This is basically taking a look at the paper process that the client has and making sure it's copied correctly into the Survey 123 environment. And then we're going to add some functionality such as drop-down menus, sliders, and pop-up questions, and really focus on that user experience as they take the survey out in the field. We're also going to be actually manually testing the Survey 123 out in the field as well. The deliverable is our ortho imagery order, and this requires obtaining the boundary file for the area for our study area we saw earlier, presented by Jordan, and basically going on the Ontario GeoHub website and clipping their ortho imagery to that boundary, as well as communicating with the imagery orders and making sure we can get the fee waive or some help with that from the imagery orders. The next deliverable is the gap analysis, which we basically take a look at all the clients' layers and what they have and what they don't have, but what they want, and then just investigating into how to get those layers, such as geology layers. And then we can use the client can use these layers for whatever purpose. The next deliverable is our dashboard. This dashboard is basically where all of our layers are going on, and it's what the user can use to really go through all of the stuff that we've created, all of our deliverables. And the dashboard's main focus is to be interactive and to give solid information on each of the layers. The next is our watershed characterization story map, and this is just a general overview of everything we've completed, all of our deliverables, and in sort of a story format, which can really sums up our project to date. Then we're going to go on to the secondary deliverables, which are going to be a little bit more vague because they haven't been thoroughly talked about yet, but will be faced when we're kind of after our primary deliverables. So the first one is our watershed wash application. This is basically to take, the user can take their observations, the environmental observations, and kind of bring them into a digital environment where the client can then take and pull out different types of information. Our next secondary deliverable is all of our network layers. So these are kind of individual layers that we're going to be working on and putting together. And the first one of these is our LiDAR surface canopy layer, basically classifying our LiDAR data for the tree heights, and this can be used for forestry applications such as super canopy trees. The next layer we'd be doing is the hydrology layer, which is an interactive layer where the user can click on the different streams and water flows in the sub-watershed and get a real sense of how everything works together and flows. Next, final deliverable, secondary deliverable is our zoning statistics network layer, which focuses more on municipal mapping and information. And this is once again an interactive layer where the user can click on it and gain more information for the zones surrounding the sub-watershed. I'm going to hand it back for the timeline.
All right, so we have a pretty basic timeline here, which is just we're representing it via the Gantt chart, and this just represents all of our primary and secondary deliverables, as well as the coursework as well, so the proposal and the final project, as well as the presentations like the one that we're doing today. So as you can see, there's a couple of colors on the Gantt chart. Are with green being these are already completed tasks that have finished, blue being they're on track and we fully expect to complete them, yellow being low risk, so there's a chance we won't finish them, and then purple being medium risk and red being high risk. Currently we have no high risk because we don't think that anything is like guaranteed not to finish, basically. We have a couple medium risk, and those are the secondary deliverables because there's a decent chance that since they're secondary deliverables, we won't finish them as they're not like mandatory for the project's completion. And then we also have the web application, which is a yellow low risk. This is because as it's in between a primary and secondary deliverable, the client wants this but understands that it's a lot of work. So there's a little bit of a chance that we won't finish it as well. And that's just kind of an overview of our timeline. So we expect to start everything on May 8th, and that's all our deliverables, and then we'll try to get those completed as quick as possible. We also have started the survey 123 a little early, as the client wanted to start using it early spring/summer in the field. And now for resources and requirements to finish these products, we use Microsoft Excel for any data collection from the survey, Microsoft Word for report writing and editing, Microsoft Access for data production and formation, ArcGIS Pro we'll use for map production and data accumulation, ArcGIS Survey 123 we will use for the watershed amphibian programming, as mentioned before. We will use story maps apps to create our water characterization story map app and just show anything to the community. We'll use ArcGIS Online in conjunction with ArcGIS Pro, as we'll upload all the data from ArcGIS Pro into ArcGIS Online so that the public can use it, as well as anybody from the BCWA. And we'll use Teams and Google Meets for any meetings. Hand it off to Sam for maintenance.
Okay. So the intention is that all of the deliverables that we produce will be finished products and shouldn't require any updates. And so they'd only really need to be updated if the BCWA changed its requirements. And so if there are any such issues, future collaborative projects in other phases will be able to address them. And this also applies to any secondary deliverable wishlist items that we wouldn't be able to finish. They can always be done by students in future years. And so the BCWA is also comprised of people who are GIS savvy. And so we hope to have it so that our deliverables will be integrated into their GIS. So if there are any urgent requirements, they can take care of it. So I will hand it off to Chris to risk assessment.
Thanks, Sam. So for the risk assessment, we have a possibility of a hard drive loss or destruction. To mitigate this, we will be backing up all our data to the cloud and on our personal computers. There's a possibility that the client our contact could leave before the completion of the project. So we have the contact information for a secondary contact. So it allows us to continue the project. There's a possibility that the project could retire before its completion. We would then just deliver all of our completed deliverables and contact our advisor for the next step. Some tools could not function properly or not work for us. So this was integrated into our timeline so that we can have enough time to go through any sort of problems that would slow us down. And finally, a group member could withdraw, and in this case, the other group members would take over the rest of the slack and instead leave the secondary deliverables and focus on the primary deliverables. And lastly, Sam for our conclusion.
Okay. So, in conclusion, the main objective of our project is to greatly enhance the functionality of the BCWA's GIS. And this will mostly focus around data acquisition, data design, geovisualization / cartography, and then programming with the Watershed Watch application. And so this will help them to be more efficient and organized in their operations, and it will also help them to reach the community. And the ideal scenario is that residents within the watersheds will take the conservation of their rivers seriously, and they will be able to use the Watershed Watch application and other methods to support the BCWA in its efforts of watershed conservation. I think that's all we have to say.
All right. Thank you guys
Thank
for
you.
listening, and we'll see you next time.